After Dave flew to Maryland, Mom and I took a Guatemalan road trip. Ready for some special mother-daughter time, we first visited Ranchitos del Quetzal, high in the cloud forest. Listening to a cicada, we checked the trees for the rare resplendent Quetzal. It can only be seen in a few cloud forests in Central America and only under special circumstances. The best viewing time is at dawn, so we awoke at 4:30 each morning. Mom and I walked to Biotopo de Quetzal Reserve to try to see the Quetzal, but all we saw was a truck possibly catching fire. Back at the ranch, this violet saberwing, the largest hummingbird species in Central America, showed off its sparkling colors. They live at higher elevations but are not restricted to cloud forests. On our second morning, I stepped outside our room at barely first light and the fog was glowing pink. It was an amazing phenomenon. We spent the entire morning staring up into the treetops and listening to the birds. We did see one female Quetzal, but it was before sunrise and only a silhouette. This is a collared trogon, but it was still too early to pick up its colors or focus for that matter. The Quetzal is in the trogon family, but makes this poor lady seem humdrum in comparison, even with a good picture, borrowed to show what she actually looks like. The male trogon is more showy, but still pales in comparison to the Quetzal. Here is a male front and back, all borrowed pictures. But even without a good sighting, we enjoyed our stay in the cloud forest. It was nice and cool compared to Rio Dulce. From Ranchitos del Quetzal, we drove to Flores. In order to get there, we had to take a ferry across a river. It looked like it was going to be a wild ride. The barge had two 100-horsepower outboards attached to the side, and control seemed questionable. As the ferry returned, Mom and I marveled at the weight load it carried across. That truck carried at least 7 cows or oxen, plus the other cars and trucks. Wow! Then it was our turn, and we boarded first. I tucked into the front corner, and some boys tried to sell us coconuts. It only took a couple minutes to cross the river, and our ride was surprisingly smooth. Everything is done manually in Guatemala, like cranking down the ramp. This ocellated turkey was our first sighting upon arrival in Tikal. I'd been telling Mom about the amazing turkeys of Tikal, so I was thrilled to have such a great viewing so quickly. This large male doesn't have the floppy red snoot of our domestic turkeys, but one that looks more like a camel hump on its face. The snoot is so big it looks like it blocks his vision looking forward. That's okay. I heard the ladies prefer a big snoot. We rented a bungalow at Tikal Inn, where the oropendulas were actively breeding. All the nests dangled from a tree right next door to the pool and just outside our bungalow door. The oropendulas get their name from their yellow or gold color, oro in Spanish, and from the shape of their nests, pendulum style. You can hear the babies chatter when Dad comes home with a meal.
If they get read the nest mixed up.
This bird is very interested in the goings-on inside this nest. I'm not sure, but I think we may have a peeping Tom here.
Whoa.
I guess peeping was not okay. I love the unique sounding call of the oropendula. As evening closed in, all the busy dads returned to the ceiba tree for the night. Mom and I went for an evening stroll after the temperature cooled down a bit. We spotted an agouti, locally known as watusi, foraging right outside the hotel. Central Americans say they are good eating and wouldn't hesitate to grill one up, but Mom and I prefer to watch them live rather than eat them. They look a little awkward walking and use their front paws to eat like a raccoon, shown in this borrowed picture. Parrots were everywhere. Find a tree with fruit or nuts in it and you'll find parrots as well. I believe these are chica sapote, or sapodilla, which are very sweet. They may be large compared to the parrot, but still not too much for this guy to handle. What a messy eater. Turkeys strutted around everywhere. We really had no chance of missing them this trip. So stunning. One evening, as we returned to our bungalow, a crested guan perched above the walkway and honked like crazy for 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know what it meant, but it was serious about it. The next morning I woke early to see what might be going on. The oropendula started in early, and by now it was a familiar sound we associated with being back at our bungalow. He put so much effort into his call, puffing up, stretching out, and forcing out the sound, that he nearly falls off the branch. Good thing he has a good grip. A kingbird came to visit. And as I sat observing, this female turkey wandered into the courtyard. The Mayan ruins open at 6 a.m., so it was time to walk to the entrance. The male turkeys made an incredible sound this morning, what I believe to be a mating call. And I finally caught it on video. We could hear these howler monkeys from our hotel, and we learned that there was an epic territorial dispute happening with another troop of monkeys working their way into the park. This alpha male put his whole body into his howl. I could have watched them all day, but believe it or not, there were all kinds of other things happening simultaneously. You can hear the parrots. They are always noisy, and were unperturbed by the intimidating sounding howling. Imagine camping in the jungle and hearing these guys outside your tent. Even while making all this racket, his ladies wanted to be near him. Through the thunderous howling, I heard the unmistakable sound of a woodpecker and looked around until I spotted it. This is a lineated woodpecker. It wasn't drilling holes, but tearing the bark off the tree. I believe looking for bugs to eat, but it could have been to compromise the integrity of the tree to drill holes later to store food or for nesting. They move so strangely and walk around the trunk of the tree like they barely touch it, almost a glide. By the way, I didn't move. As suddenly as the howler monkeys started howling, they also stopped. They were so loud that my ears rang in the relative quiet that followed. It was a busy morning watching the animals, but we also came here to see the Mayan ruins. And Mom was at the top of her game, climbing every structure that intrigued her enough to make the effort. And that was a lot of structures. Over 2 days, Mom and I walked about 14 miles and climbed countless flights of stairs. Impressed? We were. And if Mom could do it, I had to do it as well. My knee has taken over 2 years to heal after blowing it out climbing the mountains of Dominica. But on these days, it did well and I held my own. Ta-da! Mom just climbed to the top of this, the Acropolis, which gave us a fantastic view of the Queen's Temple and the Great Plaza. We climbed the Queen's Temple the previous day, and it truly gives you the best view of the Great Plaza and the Jaguar Temple. Here's Mom, with the Jaguar Temple peeking out behind her. The climbs are hard in the heat, which is why we started so early in the mornings, but the effort is worth the reward. The views are stunning.
Looking straight down, that's what we just climbed up.
And, of course, we had to climb back down. We left the Great Plaza and walked directly to the Lost World, Mundo Perdido. Here we saw another woodpecker. This one, I believe, is a female golden-fronted woodpecker. And she was doing some serious drilling. Mom and I fell in love with the Lost World. It had a different feel to it, not as touristy as the Great Plaza. And our imaginations ran wild. We felt the spirit of the ancient Maya all around the place. And the monkeys didn't hurt either. The Lost World was the only place we saw spider monkeys roaming around. Spider and howler monkeys are the largest monkeys native to Central and South America. Spider monkeys are named for their very long limbs and prehensile tail, but surprisingly, they do not have thumbs. They spend most of their time in the canopy, where they can find ample food including nuts, fruits, leaves, bird eggs, and spiders. Spider monkeys screech and bark, but can't compete with the howlers, who can be heard for 3 miles through dense rainforest. We were a long way from the howler monkeys, but if you listen carefully, you can actually hear them in the background. Yep, we were back at our bungalow again, and our noisy friend was still making his fruitless calls. Unless maybe it was like a 10 o'clock and all's well type of thing. At least I was getting better with my video quality. We rested and dined after a hard day of temple climbing, but still managed to scrape together enough energy to go for our evening stroll. These stunted-looking little grasshoppers were everywhere, and we had to watch where we stepped. This evening, we heard the rival troop of howler monkeys. They were located just outside the park entrance and across from our hotel. Putting them less than a half a mile from the outside boundary of the park howlers. I couldn't get a good visual, but this alpha male sounded very different, with a wheeze following his howl. I was watching this northern jacana use its oversized feet to walk across the lily pads, but I heard some drama kick up. Another northern jacana kicked these juveniles off the pond. Jacanas are native breeders to Central America and may be seen year-round. Crocodile? What crocodile? I couldn't see it, but a local pointed it out. Oh, that crocodile. It's just sitting there waiting for that jacana to get close. This is a purple gallinule, and it also has humongous feet that distribute its weight to stay afloat on lily pads. A local informed me that it is a migratory bird that only recently arrived. The gallinule is only found in Central America during non-breeding season. This one is likely hunting for insects, frogs, snails, earthworms, or even fish. It's a beautiful bird with iridescent dark violet, green, and turquoise feathers that glitter in the light. As we were leaving Tikal, this frisky guy put the moves on a pretty lady. He puffed himself up, spread his tail and kept the front of it always aimed toward her, and dragged his wings while sometimes shaking one of them. He looked big and impressive to me, but she wasn't having any of it. She just wanted to forage for her lunch, and this amorous guy wouldn't leave her alone. The only thing I found odd about this scene was that he remained totally silent. After hearing what I assumed was a mating call, I would think that there would be sound to accompany this physical show. Whatever he did wrong, he better work on his sexy factor.